so my name is Janie and I am a new illustrator trying to jump into freelancing. This channel is going to be a documentation of my journey of, just trying new things to survive as a freelance illustrator. Honestly speaking, I had a lot of hesitations before filming this episode because I am honestly a really private person when it comes to my personal struggles.
Because, I don't want to look like weak or any less than a capable, strong, independent woman.
In any sense, if I can. But I think to be true to the intentions of this channel, which is to navigate through the feelings of failure, of insufficiency, and to just keep on striving, I really wanted to be as open as I can about my personal struggles. Side note, I just want to frame some things right now before getting too deep in the video, that I completely understand that my situation of being able to support myself right now, being self-employed without a full-time job, is a privilege that not everyone can have. And side note, I'm also not hating on full-time employment by any means, because I know that there's a lot of really great experience and really great connections that you can make through full-time employment. So this by all means is not a quit your day job and join me because YOLO, All that I'm really hoping for is that my videos can maybe give a snapshot of what it might be like to pursue a path like this without that much previous experience, or being a superstar in the industry right after graduation. Also, the path that I take will not necessarily work for everyone, and maybe not even for myself. And honestly, a lot of you out there might even have better solutions. But again, just framing things. If you are thinking about freelancing, hopefully I can just give you some inspiration on a place to start. I am currently living on savings from working, multiple jobs in school, and also previous to my degree, I was working 3 jobs simultaneously. I took out a student loan. I got some government benefits. So there's some choices and there's some savings that I can live off of. So now getting into things, a little bit about me professionally. Professionally speaking, I am really good at putting, everything I have into my work for a company. I usually really try to be super on top of everything and, learn and give the best that I can possibly give. And I love working in fast-paced environments, in teams of people, and feeling really rewarded when there is a job well done. But personally, for myself, I have difficulty putting that same level of energy and excitement in doing my personal projects, because at work there's just this sense of structure, this accountability, a sense of working for a greater cause of the company and other people, even if it is just corporate gains. But when it comes to work for myself, it comes back to sometimes this crippling sense of zero self-worth and pointlessness. I'm laughing, but I'm dying inside. And I think this ties back into my mental health in the sense that when I do try to do something for myself, in my head I'm just thinking, I'm never gonna make it, nobody cares, even though logically I know that that's not the case. And I can't stop it, but that kind of bad dialogue kind of just ruminates up in there and seeps into literally everything else that I do, which leaves me spiraling and immobile to do things personal work for myself. But usually I can make up for all these weaknesses with my strengths of just finding different ways of avoiding these feelings by leaving the house, or working in a cafe, or a library, or at school, or any public place. You kind of get my drift here. But ever since the pandemic hit, all these routes of escaping coping, networking to sell myself, and like every other method that I had for coping for my shortcomings, and like actually avoiding dealing with the root of my problems got kind of cut off, and like it just ended up with just me in a room in my head. Now I know for a fact that I'm not a naturally like inclined, talented, artistic person. I don't usually automatically go into my sketchbook like every free moment I have to draw, or just like I can't pump out images like left, right, and center without like, you know, a direct prompt. And I see people like who can, and honestly like I really look up to them, because that takes just so much like self-discipline, and like there's just so much like that I see that I can learn there. But that's honestly just not how I am wired to work. But what I lack in like artistic talent per se, I usually can make up for in just taking extra time to work harder and like come up with other solutions for the same problem. So here I was after graduation with nowhere to go. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try email promotion. But wait, the tendonitis in my wrists from my last desk job was like, nah, girl. And cause, you know, throughout school, I have been like managing that injury, but in that last year of school, I kind of went like too hard between like my full-time classes, my job, and like taking on leadership roles. And so when the pandemic hit, like everything spiraled like even more. And like, you know, like I put a lot of strain onto my wrists in terms of like trying to finish up my thesis and like juggling all the responsibilities. And so after school, like I really wanted to like jump into promotions, jump into like doing things, and my spirit was obviously very, very willing, but my flesh was so weak. And so because of like these things, I needed to get like a lot of rest in order to not aggravate my injuries. But it was really difficult to do that, and sad when like literally all your friends are like superstars, going out there, putting in like the grind and hard work, and you can't even like go and like do a lot of like emails at the same time because it literally hurts to like type. Yeah. So pretty much working hard, which was the only thing that I had ever prided myself with, was gone. And then the cherry on the cake was, you know, when I had a bad wipeout on my longboard, which I had taken up as a hobby to rest my wrists. And I kind of like messed up my arms more, which is like really ironic because like the whole point of the hobby was to take rest. But anyways, like, you know, there was some good that came out of it. I like repainted that board, which was a pretty fun project. But yeah, like things got pretty bad for me up there. And at my lowest, I kind of knew in my mind that it was either sink or swim. So I tried to look for all kinds of like self-help, self-discipline things online. And because like I know that my biggest weakness is consistency. I'm great at putting in like these large bursts of energy of like doing things and then like pretty much just burning out like right afterwards. And that's kind of not sustainable for my situation in working like these past months. And so like I tried things like getting up like earlier and earlier, trying to like find my ideal work time, trying to get into like a good like state of mind. And like I even like tried to like, you know, my roommates and I, we started doing yoga together and Zumba. And I really buckled down to like do new sketches for personal pieces to just get me out of this rut. It took a long time, but over time I was able to just kind of like claw my way back up into a better mental state with more and more personal work. And honestly, like just all my friends showing support for me on social media and sharing my work, even though like I'm just such a like freaking recluse all the time. Like it meant a lot because it, you know, it's not, I'm not saying that social media is attached to my self-worth, but it was just a nice reminder that there were people out there who like me and support me, or like at least are like vaguely okay with me. And that means a lot to me. Many things like success is really hard to quantify, and so even though logically up here I knew that my success is not measured and shouldn't be measured the same as someone else's, it is really easy to like slip up and just start comparing again. And even though like on the surface everything else is like a fruit, this is like an analogy that like my past teacher used to use. Everything is like apples and oranges, which is different. And I think at a lot of points in like during this time, I thought of like just quitting, trying to freelance and just go for like a stable like 9-to-5 job. And honestly, I did send out a couple of applications, and you know, there's like that like immigrant child guilt. You know, watching that decade of struggle that my parents put into putting us into that better financial place. And then, you know, here I was going off and squandering all of that, pursuing a career with like no sure like outcome of financial success. And so with that like dialogue kind of moseying up on there, I just, you know, would casually, religiously, you know, be on like job like sites, just like looking for something, even though I'm like, I'm not gonna do this. And like, you know, and there was this one moment where I found this really cool job that I would actually be really interested in doing. But when it came down to writing that, like revising that resume, revising like my cover letter, I know this sounds like really privileged of me to say, but like I just couldn't do it. And I think I knew it was not because I wasn't interested, and it wasn't because, you know, like, you know, it's not good enough for me, like, and I'm not like that, but it was just because I knew that if I went and I applied and say I got the job at this point, I would be going back to like square one per se. Because like up until like this point, even though I was not quote unquote successful in terms of like freelance illustrating and supporting myself with like freelancing like gigs, I did invest a lot of money that like I put into rent, food, and like a lot of like time is still considered investment into getting me to this point. And so like I knew that if I took this job at this moment, like I would just go back into like my old routine of like, you know, putting everything I have in my job, and even though technically, you know, I can do my own thing after work or whatever, I would just I wouldn't because I wouldn't have the discipline to actually go and pursue something, you know, because, you know, after work I'd be tired and I'll be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and like it'll just never happen for me. Like other people out there with like really great discipline, you know, like they can do it, but it was just not feasible for me at this point. And so at that point, I really tried my best to get like even more disciplined by getting up earlier and earlier and just trying to sit at my desk and like doing and redoing things, working on images to make it better. But like something was definitely missing in my routine, that just didn't give me the same amount of excitement and drive to push harder. So honestly, this is where this channel came in as a challenge to myself. And I did talk about in my last video about where the inspirations for this channel comes from, in terms of my friend and like in terms of trying like, you know, just to be a buddy out there of like trying new things and failing, even if it is just like one person out there. But like obviously there's some selfish reasons too. I'm not gonna lie or like try to hide that. Like keeping just the thought of being able to keep this channel running for 6 days a week, with social media and trying to promote myself, like that would be the most consistent positive thing that I would have ever done for myself up until like that point. And so yeah, this is part of like my personal development of like facing my fears and like exposing like myself, which I do not like to do. and just also researching, planning for these videos, and like not to sound like a freaking nerd, like the nerd I am, but like I got really excited, and like I don't think I've ever gotten like this level of excitement doing something for myself. Like I would get this excitement when I'm like, you know, helping plan an event, or like I got deadlines coming up, or like working for other people, but like never the same for myself. And this was like literally the first time that this has happened. And so like, you know, like the purpose of this channel, illustrating failure, if I succeed and like this channel somehow like makes it, then like, you know, I'll be like pretty happy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be super happy. But like if it doesn't, that's okay too, because, you know, even if I fail, it's still a success, because like, hey, that's the point. And I would have learned a lot about like video editing and like software, and like, you know, I'll have no regrets. Yeah, that's my spiel. Just a little bit more about how I wanted the structure of the videos to run. Is that on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I was thinking that it'll be like the meaty main courses of this channel for like a longer video to like fill you up. And then on other days of the week, obviously like minus Sunday, because mental health days, is like snack days. And so there'll be shorter videos of like me trying new things, or just showing you tidbits of things I've tried and like, you know, worked for me. And so I'm also hoping, if some of my friends are willing, that they'll like come on and just talk about their experiences after graduation, where they are now, and their like own methods of like motivating themselves. And so that way maybe like you guys won't get sick of me. Ay. Thank you so much for listening, you guys. Let me know if there are some things that you would like to see on my channel, like things that I can try. And I will try to respond to everyone. Like and subscribe for more videos upcoming, because they're gonna be coming every day. And you know, turn on the bell notifications, and I will see you in my next video.